Okay, T6B semiconductors, basic principles of diodes and transistors. What class of electronic components is capable of using a voltage or current signal to control current flow? Okay, here we have a schematic diagram for a transistor, which is the answer to that. A transistor is the class of components that does that. It has a collector, it has a base, and it has an emitter. Okay, the base is where the control is applied to control the current through the other two elements here. So I might have a light bulb, I might have some other kind of circuit that I want to control with a very small signal, and I can do that with the transistor. I can hook this light bulb through a battery through the transistor, and by changing the voltage on the base, I can control how much current will flow through that light bulb. Okay, so that's what they're talking about here, using a voltage or current signal to control current flow. A transistor lets you do that. What electronic component allows current to flow in only one direction? That is called a diode. The symbol for a diode looks like this. Okay, and it allows current to flow in only one direction. Which of these components can be used as an electronic switch or amplifier? Again, the answer is the transistor, and we saw here how it can be used as a switch, as we were talking about up in here. Any questions on those components? Okay, which of these components is made of 3 layers of semiconductor material? It's called a bipolar junction transistor. I've added some graphics down here just this evening before we went on to show you how they're constructed. 3 layers of semiconductor material, a P-type, an N-type, and a P-type. Stuck together, you have junction here between the P and the N. You have a junction here between the N and the P. Okay, so that's a bipolar junction transistor. This is how it's constructed. The base is on that middle part there, and this is the symbol for it. Okay, on the NPN, same thing, except we have the N-type material here, P-type in the middle, N-type again, and this is the NPN type of transistor. Again, a bipolar junction transistor. If you look at the symbols, you'll see that the PNP has the arrow pointing in. The NPN has the arrow pointing out because the operating voltages of them are opposite. You need to know that if you're designing a circuit to use them. Which of the following electronic components can amplify a signal? That's a transistor again. A small signal applied at the base can control a big signal between the collector and the emitter. How is a semiconductor diode's cathode lead usually identified? With a stripe. Here you can see a picture of a semiconductor diode, and it's a tube-looking thing like this. Actually, it's a solid cylinder thing with wires coming out of either end typically, and on the end of it is a stripe, usually a little stripe of silver paint that identifies this end of it as being the cathode. What does the abbreviation LED stand for? It stands for light emitting diode. It's a diode that is constructed in such a fashion that when current goes through it, it gives off light. And it does that now. They have those now in everything. In fact, the light shining on my computer work table here is an array of light emitting diodes that is connected to the house current, and makes a real good light. So, and I think that is the future of low energy lighting, is the light emitting diode type stuff. Very good stuff. Okay, what does the abbreviation FET stand for? That stands for a field effect transistor, which is another type of transistor besides the bipolar. Here's a schematic down here of a field effect transistor. Okay, and they come in a couple different flavors, actually more than a couple, but for us, for this test, a couple will do. And it has a gate. Instead of a base here, it's called a gate. Instead of a collector, it's called a drain, and instead of an emitter, it's called a source. Okay, so gate, drain, source, field effect transistor, FET. Okay, what are the names of the two electrodes of a diode? They are the anode and the cathode, And you'll remember that the cathode end is the one that's marked with the stripe. Which semiconductor component has an emitter electrode? Again, we're talking about the bipolar transistor. Emitter, electrode, emitter, electrode, bipolar transistor. Which semiconductor component has a gate electrode? The gate electrode is on the field effect transistor. A way to remember this, it doesn't have anything to do with electronics, but if you remember that you open the gate to go into a field, that can help you on the test if you happen to get this question. So the gate will take you into the field of the field effect transistor. What's the term that describes a transistor's ability to amplify a signal? It's called gain. The amount that a transistor can amplify a signal is called the gain of the transistor. Any questions on any of those?